It's interesting to see what politics does in the minds of just the common people, because when they get embroiled in the cult of personality, and guys, I'm sorry I use this phrase all the time, but it's true. It's the cult of personality. The Democrats follow the personalities on the left. The Republicans follow the personalities on the right, and nobody has the ability, or people have lost their ability to think critically, or it's just been placed in permanent suspended animation. And then we have to talk about the issues of legality and illegality as it pertains to human beings who cross an imaginary barrier. And I understand we don't want criminals crossing national barriers committing crimes. We don't want anybody committing crimes. Even if they're born in America, they shouldn't be committing crimes. If you're committing crimes, you should be removed from society. If you're harming somebody, if you're stealing their stuff, if you're damaging their property and not paying for it, then you should be removed from society. You are not a net benefit. You are a net negative. You're a detriment to society. And those are the people who should be rightly removed from society. So when we talk about this guy right here, this Orig Garcia guy who was deported to El Salvador, and now he's in basically what constitutes a supermax prison on the United States taxpayer dime, we got to talk about it, because here's Trump talking with the El Salvadorian president in the Oval Office. Listen to what he says when he's talking to the fake stream. CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultramedia. It sounds like it's the Counterfeit News Network's Caitlin Collins. And yeah, I agree that it's right to have disdain for the fake stream news, like Trump pretends to have disdain for them. But listen to the question and then listen to the answer, not only of the president of the United States, but also the president of El Salvador, the dictatorial president of El Salvador. And let's try to unplug from Democrat and Republican, and let's look at this thing through the lenses of humanity.
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country.
That's actually not true. There was no evidence found that he was a part of that gang. No evidence. We're going to read it from a Fox News article. Fox News, favorable to Trump. We're going to read it from that article. Pam Bondi is not telling the truth here.
Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
Facilitate, but not effectuate. We'll provide the means, but we're not going to tell El Salvador to release that guy and bring him back for due process. No, we're not going to do that. You don't get due process. You're an illegal. You're one of them illegals, aren't you?
President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle terrorists into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like...
That's so freaking hilarious to see the president, the dictator of a country. How am I going to do? You want me to smuggle somebody into the United States? Do something illegal? I'm a dictator. I don't do illegal things. He's acting like he's powerless. Trump's acting like he's powerless. And the whole time, an innocent man, until he's proven guilty, an innocent man who's not proven to be a part of MS-13, not proven to have committed any crime in El Salvador or in the United States, is sitting in a supermax prison on American dime, and the El Salvadorian president's pretending like, I don't have any power to do anything. Trump's like, I ain't got any. I'm the ruler and leader of the free world and the commander in chief of the biggest, baddest military on the entire planet, but I don't have the power to do that either.
I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States. I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
I don't do smuggling. I don't no smuggling going on from El Salvador. Come on.
You can release him inside El Salvador. Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back?
Not fond of releasing terrorists. He's literally implying that Garcia is a terrorist, and there's no evidence for that. Okay, call him illegal if you want to, but he's not a terrorist. He's not a part of MS-13. He hasn't committed a crime, or at least he hasn't been proven to have committed a crime. He didn't even get his day in court. He's just sitting in jail because, hey, these guys want to play with lives.
Into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world. No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people.
These are sick people, says the guy who signed a 6.2, not billion, but $1 trillion CARES Act that benefited the corporate oligarchs and the Federal Reserve. $4 trillion just evaporated right off the top, and nobody likes it. Nobody wants to talk about it. These people like to commit crimes. They want to see criminals unleashed, while he feeds the criminals of the Federal Reserve, the central banking cartel, the Bohemian Grove, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergs. This guy is in deep with the biggest, baddest criminals on the earth. And while he's rightly calling the people who are the prostitutes for fake stream media, hey, they want criminals released. Yeah, they do. Because they want mayhem, they want chaos, they want division, they want to demoralize, and they want to dehumanize the rest of us because that's their bread and butter, so they can play off this political theater going on. But that doesn't make these guys, these two guys sitting in these two yellow chairs in this Oval Office, any less a criminal. They are frickin' hypocrites. Now listen to Stephen Miller lie about the verdict from the federal court and the district courts.
I promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for it to get him back?
And
that-
what was the ruling
that-
in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor.
9-0 in our favor, says Stephen Miller. No, it wasn't. They were basically saying Garcia was illegally deported, and you guys got to facilitate bringing him back so he can go through due process. It was not in Trump's favor. Stephen Miller is absolutely lying right here.
Against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said,
Yeah, that's for the Kissingers and the Zbigniew Brzezinskis of the world. It's not for the Supreme Court of the United States, the black-robed tyrants that they are, the anti-gun black-robed tyrants.
the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
So let's say that's true. Then the president of El Salvador, if he's a citizen of El Salvador, fine, let him stay in El Salvador, although he's gotten married and the woman he married has 2 kids and they just had a 3rd kid. But the Salvadorian president should go, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll look into it. Maybe he doesn't know, maybe he does know. I'll look into it. And if he's innocent, over my dead body, he's going to stay in a super max prison. But let me show you what Fox News, and I want to pick Fox News because Fox is favorable to the Trump administration, says Maryland immigrant wrongly deported to El Salvador must return to U.S. Supreme Court rules. That is not favorable to Trump. That's 9-0 in the exact opposite direction. Federal court documents say Mr. Garcia fled El Salvador in the early 2000s to escape gang violence. It says the Supreme Court on Thursday upheld a lower court's decision to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the exact opposite of what Stephen Miller just said. A Salvadorian national living in Maryland from El Salvador prison where federal officials sent hundreds of suspected criminals and gang members in March. Abrego Garcia, 29, was deported to the El Salvador mega prison last month for being an alleged MS-13 gang member, but his attorneys maintain he doesn't have any gang ties. This U.S. District Judge Zenas ordered federal officials to coordinate his return back to Maryland in a Monday order, calling his deportation wholly unlawful. Exactly the opposite of what Stephen Miller said, even though he was trying to give deference and look at the foreign policy side of things. It wasn't carte blanche and in favor decision for the Trump administration. It was against it. It says on March 15th, 2025, the United States removed Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia from the United States to El Salvador, where he is currently detained in the Center for Terrorism Confinement. The United States acknowledges that Abrego Garcia was subject to a withholding order forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that the removal to El Salvador was therefore illegal. Justice Sonia Sotomayor said she, quote, would have declined to intervene in this litigation and denied the application in full. Sotomayor said, nevertheless, I agree with the court's order that the proper remedy is to provide Abrego Garcia with all the processes to which he would have been entitled had he not been unlawfully removed to El Salvador. This is, again, the exact opposite of what Stephen Miller said. And the exact opposite of the understanding of the President of the United States. Wasn't it in our favor? That means the government must comply with its obligation to provide Abrego Garcia with due process of law, including notice and an opportunity to be heard in any future proceedings. The High Court further said it, quote, properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. And the Justice Department responded to the order in a statement to Fox News saying, quote, as the Supreme Court correctly recognized, it is the exclusive prerogative of the president to conduct foreign affairs. By directly noting the deference owed to the executive branch, this ruling once again illustrates that activist judges do not have the jurisdiction to seize control of the president's authority to conduct foreign policy. But what if the president and his administration makes a mistake? And what if he sends a guy to another country to be sent to a gulag without due process of law? Is that the kind of precedent we really want to set here in America? Federal court filings showed Abrego Garcia had fled El Salvador to escape gang violence. Starting around 2006, gang members, quote, stalked, hit, and threatened to kidnap and kill him in order to coerce his parents to succumb to their increasing demands for extortion. He entered the United States illegally in 2011 and traveled to Maryland, where his older brother, a U.S. citizen, lived. Around 2016, Abrego Garcia became romantically involved with a female U.S. citizen, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, and her two children, also U.S. citizens. They moved in together and the woman became pregnant with his child. Abrego Garcia worked in the construction industry to support his family, according to court filings. On March 28, 2019, Abrego Garcia went to a Home Depot in Hyattsville, Maryland to solicit employment and was recruited by 3 other men. Prince George County Police Department soon arrived at the scene and detained all 4 men. According to court documents, quote, at the police station, the 4 young men were placed into different rooms and questioned. Plaintiff Abrego Garcia was asked if he was a gang member. When he told police he was not, they said they did not believe him and repeatedly demanded that he provide information about other gang members. The police told plaintiff Abrego Garcia that he would be released if he cooperated, but he repeatedly explained that he did not have any information to give because he did not know anything. The judge later granted his release, and Abrego Garcia married his now wife in 2019. So this shows right here, according to court filings and documents, according to Fox News, Pam Bondi just lied about Abrego Garcia. There is no criminal action against him for being involved in MS-13 or any other gang or committing a crime.
In 2019, 2 two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13.
Orig Garcia was arrested in Baltimore on March 12th after he worked a shift as a sheet metal apprentice in Baltimore and picked up his now 5-year-old son who has autism and other disabilities from his grandmother's house, according to the complaint. So we see over here that the Trump administration doesn't have any problems lying, even when the facts are staring you right in the face. Get out of the cult of personality on the right, get out of the cult of personality on the left, and let's try to create some freedom here in America. If you like these videos, give this video a like and share it with everybody you know. As far as I know, nobody else is doing this kind of stuff. They're either a part of Con Inc. or they're a propagandist, leftist, progressive, or leftist lunatic doing the bidding of their gravy-trained political elitist masters. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to. Like if you want to. Hit the bell notification if you want to. Grab a shirt if you want to. I will see you in the next video.